Holy smokes. We're going to be talking today about The Rock, everybody. Let some people funnel in here to the liveness that we got going on today. But yeah, we're talking about The Rock and everybody thinking that The Rock looks small. I got news for you guys. You know, The Rock's very big. He's freaking massive. I've taken pictures with him before, and he's huge, absolutely huge. He's like 6'5". Maybe nowadays, maybe he's shrunk down to like 6'4". But yeah, I was on the set of the movie The Rundown. I might have got another shot with him some other time too. My dad took a picture with him. My mom took a picture with him. And my brother Chris, obviously, took some photos with him too. But yeah, The Rock is big. And The Rock's been big for a long time. He's been big pretty much since birth. He came out big. And he's always, I mean, even some of the pictures of when he's, a teenager, his shoulders are just super, super wide. And he's been big and jacked for a long time. In his WWE career, like most of his WWE career, The Rock was big and in good shape, but he wasn't really like, he wasn't super lean. He was lean by all other considerations, but he wasn't lean in terms of like a bodybuilder lean. He was just like big. Later in his career, like when he was young, he was pretty puffy. But as he became the people's champ and as he kind of morphed into being the guy that was wearing a $500 shirt and all those things, he's changed over the years. But one thing that's for sure is that all of us with age, we're going to change. For some people, they're going to go from, they might change the way that Christian Guzman's changed. They might, go from being a guy that competed in natural bodybuilding shows and did that thing for a while. And then maybe through his 30s, maybe he gets on some gear and tries for IFBB proness type stuff. And then maybe when he's 45 or something like that, he decides like he doesn't want to do it anymore, right? Or look at my career. I used to be 330 pounds. It was very, 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 very big. And I've had ups and downs in terms of my muscularity and in terms of my size. Sometimes the downs are just because you just come off gear for a little while. Like that just happens sometimes. You're just like, you know what? I've been on for a while. This is people that utilize performance enhancing drugs. They just sometimes make a decision and they're like, you know what? I should make a change. Like if Ryan, if you click on the picture with the, where I'm wearing that BSN hat or that red hat, that's as big and as lean as I pretty much ever was. I was probably 255 right there or something like that. And you kind of see like, holding some water in my face, but I'm lean and have abs and I'm big, And at that weight, I could fluctuate, even like from 1 week to the next. So I could look like that for a picture and I have abs and I have, veins tracking through, the shoulders and even some veins in the stomach a little bit and stuff like that. But 3 weeks later, I could be, and I think at that time, I think I did do this. I think I went back up to like 280 or 290 for a little bit after, maybe not that heavy, maybe like 20 pounds heavier is about what I did from what I remember. But the point is like, man, you can look quite a bit different from 1 month to the next. And someone like The Rock, who's an actor, he's going to look quite a bit different from 1 week to the next, 1 month to the next, depending on what he's doing. Like certain roles are going to require him to be certain ways. And we know in the movie business that it doesn't behoove you to be like gigantic. It seems to be a distraction sometimes when someone is like, and I think that maybe people will get used to it over time. But if the main character is just like jacked, sometimes it just pulls from everything. So like Dave Bautista has lost a lot of weight. He's made some changes. And you're going to see that, with all the bodybuilders, all the people that bodybuild or all the people that, got themselves to be pretty jacked, they're turning themselves more, they're losing weight, but they're not turning themselves to be normal. They're turning themselves into still being spectacular for them, But yeah, the picture of Dave Bautista like on the beach there is a pretty good shot with his shirt off. The bottom right one there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good picture. I mean, he's still like he's lean as hell. He looks awesome, but he's not the demon of the deep that he was when he was at like Ohio Valley Wrestling, and he was like 315 pounds. Like Dave Bautista was an actual bodybuilder, like an onstage bodybuilder, and he could have probably pushed that. He could have probably pushed that pretty hard. He probably could have took that to pretty good lengths because of the type of physique that he had. He got a good waist. He had big shoulders. He had big chest, big arms. He probably could have figured that out as a career. And even someone like John Cena over the years, he's not necessarily trying to downsize, but shit, man, you just get older. And your neck and stuff takes a beating when you do something like professional wrestling. And it makes it difficult to continue to train when you have injuries and surgeries and illness and travel and like over and over and over and over and over again. And Cena, you know, when John Cena was the prototype in UPW, and even when he's starting at Ohio Valley Wrestling, or you can kind of see in that bottom left picture there, he's actually competing in bodybuilding in that picture where he's in those little tiny trunks, and he's just absolutely shredded. But that's John still weighing like 240. Like he's a big dude as well. He's 6'1" or 6'2". 240 pounds, just has the biggest structure you've ever seen in your life. Like it doesn't make any sense. You click on the top right picture there. That gives you just a good idea of how much mass. Like look at his arms. Like what the hell are those things? Like they're just ridiculous. John Cena's wrist is probably not too far off from being the size of my like lower forearm. Like halfway up my forearm, that would be about John's. It's ridiculous. Huge hands, huge kneecaps, huge feet. It's just like a lot of these guys have some really incredible genetics, and The Rock is no different. The Rock has some amazing genetics. The Rock's dad had just enormous arms. He was super jacked too. And so a lot of these guys are coming from some good stock. They train, they work hard for many, many years. And you can see his Rocky Johnson. Yeah, he's like jacked, unbelievably jacked. And his wrestling partner that he would, the tag team wrestling partner that he had was Tony Atlas. And Tony Atlas was an actual legend of bodybuilding. Tony Atlas was absolutely incredible as a bodybuilder. And so a lot of these people, they have these kind of bodybuilding backgrounds and they want to get big and they want to get jacked. And obviously The Rock, along with many other celebrities, along with many other WWE stars and so forth, people get on some stuff and they get a little bit bigger and they try to hold on to that for basically as long as they can. And then I'm imagining that with The Rock recently, with everyone freaking out about him downsizing so much, the guy's probably still 260 pounds. You know, maybe for Smashing Machine, maybe he bulked up a bit. The Rock hasn't really been a guy to get like super shredded. Like he's gotten very lean a couple times. But he's not normally one to get super shredded, but the look that he has right now, it looks like he might be pretty damn lean. You know, he downsized a bit. I guess what people are used to seeing, and there's some rumors, because, you know, there's people that believe in like all the celebrity stunt doubles. Like we were on the fourth Biden. We were, you know, people think we're on the second Trump because Trump's looking weird. And people think the like real Dwayne Johnson was abducted. And now we got, you know, this guy. But again, you come off some gear and but the same thing happened to Triple H. Triple H is getting hammered in the media. People are like, he's so fat. You know, he's this, he's that. It's like, oh my God, he is not, he's not so fat. Triple H had a heart scare recently. I think it was pretty serious. I think he, you know, nearly died. And he had to have an emergency surgery. And when you go through stuff like that, and your doctor says, man, you know what? I don't know about you taking steroids like during this time. Like, I think it'd probably be, you know, you're not rushing home from the hospital like, oh, I got to take my shot of testosterone, right? Like you're just you're not in that frame of mind, and you're not in that frame of mind to train. They say that someone who's really compromised, yeah, upper right is a good shot of him. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and so his gut is protruding a little bit. You know what I mean? Like maybe he took a few weeks away from, so he looks bad for him, right? But it's like that's a normal physique for somebody that's his age, right? And I would imagine he's probably already in better shape, especially if he's in better health. Like if he doesn't feel good and he just came off of some surgery. You got to give people a moment. I guess they are celebrities, so they deserve the bullets, being slung their way. I guess that's kind of part of the territory, right? That you're going to criticize every little move they make, and every little thing that they do. And, someone like The Rock, thins out a bit, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, he's nothing without the juice. Well, he's not nothing without the juice, but he's going to be smaller without the juice for sure. That's what it does. Steroids, they make you bigger. That's just the way that it is. And I think The Rock, we're used to seeing The Rock with pretty much a pretty big chest and pretty big shoulders. And I think from that, runway carpet thing or whatever it was he was doing there, with his co-star for Smashing Machine, he just looks a little smaller. I saw he had a video on his Instagram where he was speaking, and he was out in Venice in Italy, and he was on a boat, and he was like, man, I don't know how to handle these situations sometimes. He's like, this is just so beautiful and so wonderful. This is really cool. And he just looked different to me there too. But that's what's going to happen. He's going to look different. As he gets older, he's going to continue to look different. The Rock's been holding on to a look for, you just see his neck, right? His neck and his traps. That to me tells you that okay, he either got off the androgens or he dialed them back. Because the same exact thing happened to my neck when I did that. That's exactly what happened to me when I came off of stuff years and years ago. That's just what's going to happen. You're going to instantly, it's not like it happens in a week, but in a couple months of you stopping, continuing whatever protocol you're on, whether he chose to do less or he chose to come off completely, that's and maybe that's a new look. Maybe he wants to stay there. Maybe that's his desire to have this other look, or maybe he has a, new role coming out, or whatever it may be. And we are live. So if you guys, are throwing around some questions or whatever, we can have some conversation about that. But truthfully, everyone's going to hit a point where they have to make a decision. And your decision, if you can pull up some pictures of Mike Ryan, check out Mike Ryan's Instagram. Mike Ryan used to train The Rock, by the way. That's how I got to know The Rock, through my buddy Mike Ryan. Mike Ryan is jacked. Mike Ryan is super duper pooper scooper jacked. He's 50. I think he's 56. So, and obviously there's, you can make your own judgments. I won't even bother to comment on any of that, but hey, he's jacked as hell. He's still squatting 500 pounds for repetitions. His arms are massive. He's like the dad that grabs the weights in the gym. The guy's trying to, lift, or the guy's trying to do incline dumbbell press with hundreds. And then Mike comes over and grabs him and curls him. He's that dude. Yeah, he's super jacked, but at some point, Mike's going to have to make a decision to downsize. Look at how jacked Michael Hearn still is. Michael Hearn looks awesome, right? Michael Hearn's going to have to make a decision at some point to start to come down. And more recently, Michael Hearn has come down, and he's, working on some different roles and stuff. And so, it's hard for Mike to get down to 220 pounds. He's pretty damn, he's been a big guy for a long time. He's been huge since he was a teenager. And it's hard for someone like that to really come down in weight. Even if some of these guys come off the drugs, they're still going to be pretty big. It's just that they're going to, like I said, The Rock is probably still 250, 260. O'Hearn, since he was a teenager, has been 260, 270 at 6'3" or 6'4". So it's just interesting. You know, I find it to be interesting. I just think that it kind of sucks that you know, some of these guys just get hammered so hard. They just trying to make a decision to do something slightly different. But I guess I get it. They are celebrities, and all these judgments come along with the territory, right? That's kind of just the way that it goes. Yeah, and if you go back to the picture of The Rock, you know, where he's playing Mark Kerr, you know, Mark Kerr was big. Mark Kerr was really big, really jacked, probably every bit of 260 pounds, probably around 6'1". And I thought The Rock, you know, I haven't seen the movie, but seeing the trailer and seeing some photos, I think that The Rock did a good job of mimicking the look of Mark Kerr. And shit, man, you know, your hat has to go off to The Rock too, because The Rock is playing the part of like a 28-year-old guy at 53 years old. Like, so amen to that. Like, that's awesome. And look, I think he looks awesome right there. And yeah, you know what? He probably is a little extra gassed up. There probably are, you know, there's probably some orals thrown in there. There's probably like, you know, a good mix of stuff. There's probably some growth hormone in there. Just why wouldn't there be? There's millions of dollars at stake. Like, this is legendary shit. And if this movie is what it's supposed to be, then it lands in the annals of history as, you know, an awesome film. Like, if you look back at like Rocky, you look back at Rambo, look at Sylvester Stallone in Rocky 1 versus Sylvester Stallone in Rocky 4. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4. He got better every single year. He got leaner and in better shape every single time that he did Rocky. Part of the reason why the film's so great, and part of the reason why Rocky 4 is probably the most popular Rocky, which everyone knows that Rocky 1's the best. My buddy Russell Buddy, you know, he says the greatest film of all time is Rocky 1 and 2. And I was like, I don't know if you can do that. He's like, I just did. So he claims that Rocky 1 and 2 could be counted or should be counted as one just awesome film together. And I don't disagree with that. I think he's got a good point. Rocky 3 is hard to beat too. Rocky 3 is pretty awesome. Like, him going against Clubber Lang is pretty amazing. But yeah, Rocky 4 is when he's kind of like in his final form. And then if you remember in First Blood, you know, he's built pretty good, but I think in Rambo, he's like really shredded. That's when he like comes out and he's got that fight where they have that, they have the hands where they dip him in like the shards of glass or whatever. Yeah. Or he's got that, he's holding that machine gun and he's like completely shredded. Interestingly enough, I mean, Sylvester Stallone on the other side of things was never a huge guy. He was never a big guy. You know, Rocky being, Rocky Balboa being the heavyweight champion of the world is kind of funny because Stallone might have weighed 175 pounds. You know, because he's just so lean. He did a good job getting like some striations together when he was Rambo. Damn, that was a good movie. First Blood, you know, go back and watch First Blood. Such a great, just an amazing film. But yeah, you know, I guess kind of in wrapping some of this up and just knowing that people are going to have to choose some sort of path or some sort of way forward. They can't just lumber around. You can't really just lumber around at 260, 270. Even The Rock being, you know, so tall, you know, having a tall stature, it's going to be hard for him to maintain a healthy 275. He probably can maintain a healthy 245, 255. Might be harder to be healthy otherwise, or to be as optimally healthy as you could figure out. For myself, even with the muscle mass I have now, like I don't want to have this when I'm 55. it would be, hey, it'd be cool if I could have it. But like, I don't want to still be fighting this battle the same way, you know. I'd rather go the route of Mark Sisson. See if you can bring up an image of Mark Sisson on his Instagram. Posted a picture from a boat that he was on his Instagram just a couple days ago. And I was like, that's the goal. That's it right there. 73 years old, looking absolutely just awesome. You might have to click on the other thing up top for Instagram to go to go to that one or something. You know, sometimes, you know, it's like, anyway, you'll stumble upon it somewhere. But he just looked awesome, you know, and he's in his 70s. He's a smaller frame guy. He's not, Mark Sisson's not a huge guy. He's a legendary triathlete. There we go. That's it, right? Look, you know what I mean? Like you're not really going to do better than that. Like that's great. Holding on to some good muscle, still got some muscle in the shoulders, got some muscle in the chest. He probably isn't, you know, train the shit out of his legs, but he still has good legs. And Mark is like I said, former triathlete. And so his legs are probably strong. He can still probably get around really good. I know he had a hip surgery, but this is like a year out from having that hip surgery. And to me, that's damn impressive. I know some people are like, I want to be bigger, you know, when I'm that age or whatever. Like, that's cool. But that's my goal, is to head in that direction. You know, when I'm 70, it would probably be good for me to be 180, 170, you know. I'm still around 220, 215, 220. So there's going to be a point where there's already been points where you're watching my videos, you're watching my Instagram, you're watching my YouTube, and you're like, what the hell's happened to Mark? What's happened to me is I'm getting older. And you have different goals at different times in your life, and you're heading after different things. The Rock for so long was so big, and maybe through Smashing Machine, maybe he was just like pinning himself up pretty good, you know, 3 times a week, a couple good sized, you know, dosages of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm not going to speculate on what he's utilizing or whatever, but utilizing something, right? And you hit your left shoulder, your right shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder. That's what I do. I just go in the shoulders. I don't even bother to do the butt injections or the quad injections. They just always bother me. They always hurt me. So I always just stick into the shoulders. But we used to call it around the world. You know, you go around the world. Like after you go around the world a couple times, there's nowhere else to stick a pin anymore. So you go left shoulder, right shoulder. Then you go right butt cheek, left butt cheek. Now you're back to the right shoulder. Now you're back to, you know what I mean? Like, and you just keep hammering, you know, all the way to the point where your needle feels like you're jabbing it into like a pizza box. You know, it's like, feels like you're jabbing it into like a thing of cardboard. Can't even barely get the needle in there because there's pre-existing oil still dissipating into your body. It sounds like a drug addict. It kind of is. If we can, our Zach Tillander, I just wanted to mention, we can't bring up the audio when we're live like this, but I wanted to mention that, you know, he was talking about, you know, The Rock, you know, and he was just mentioning that, he's just mentioning like that these guys have been abusing steroids for a really long time. And I just think that when you're talking about a drug like steroids, talking about these performance enhancing drugs, it's going to be something that, like, all steroid usage probably should be under the category of abuse. It makes it sound worse when you talk about abuse, but it is abused. And the reason why it's abuse is because it's to the neglect of other things. It's to the disregard of other things. Like when you're that big, you know, when you're as big as The Rock is in some of these images, you are not concerned about other aspects of your health at that moment. You are concerned with what you're concerned with, and you're concerned with being big and jacked and having your shoulders and arms and stuff look good. And that's a trap that a lot of us tend to fall into. But again, in kind of just finishing this whole entire thing, everyone's going to get older and everyone's going to look different. An interesting thing, though, is that for the people that are natural, someone like Zach Talander, he can hold on to looking the way that he looks now, probably for a longer period of time, without any real reason for him to downsize, because he doesn't have an exorbitant amount of muscle mass on him to lose, right? So maybe someone like Nsima, Nsima, it'd probably be in his best interest as he gets to be 50, 55 to still be 10 pounds lighter than like where he's at now. I mean, he's a very healthy guy. He's a natural guy. But still, in his case, it might be a decent idea to downsize, but he's, N of one. Like there's not a lot of guys that can build so much muscle mass that they should downsize. And he has downsized. He has downsized for his goals with jiu-jitsu. And more recently, he's been doing like some acting and some things like that. And so he might have to consider some downsizing for that. Now, Nsima's not like, he's jacked as hell, but he's not so like big and bulky that it's, has to be a distraction. I mean, the guy can throw a shirt on, I think, and look, he still looks like an ass kicker and he's still huge. But he, if he downsizes, it's going to be probably coming from almost like his legs again. Like, so that's what he did for jiu-jitsu, because, as he was practicing jiu-jitsu, he was just like, you know what, these giant ass legs, while it's awesome having these big hamstrings and quads and everything, it'd be a good idea for me to lose at least a little bit of weight. So he went from being to like 270 or so, 260, 270, down to where he is now, which I think he's normally around 255 or so, somewhere in there, depending on like what he's eating and all these different things. And there's a good shot of Juji Mufu. That's another guy, he'll have to make a decision to kind of downsize. And where will he go? Juji Mufu will go back to where he was in the beginning. He'll go back to where he was years and years ago. And he was still awesome. He still looked great. He just like, now he's like huge, right? Now Juji Mufu looks like, not necessarily like, he doesn't look necessarily as crazy as some of the IFBB pro bodybuilders, but he certainly looks like a bodybuilder, right? So anyway, in wrapping this up, I mean, everyone's going to have to make a decision at some point to like downsize. Everyone's going to have to make a decision to utilize less performance enhancing drugs probably at some point. Otherwise, your luck will run out, or not even so much your luck will run out, but you're just you start to have different goals at different ages. And as you get older, maybe one of your goals is just to have your markers of health look better. And maybe you just want to be able to go for like a run. And if you want to be able to go for a run, well, it's going to be hard to be 270 pounds. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.